Situation in Iraq. Let's bring in House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Ed Royce, a Republican from California, joins us from Orange today. Congressman, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's start with al-Maliki. We've wanted him gone for so long here in the States. Does this get easier if he's on the ropes?
Well, it certainly gets a lot easier once he's gone. And as you can see, his own political party has turned against him. I guess the question now is, will he try some kind of a coup to hang on to power? But that's something the Iraqis to work out, but we've put a lot of pressure on the different factions there to get some kind of competent leadership. And I think with the president's decisive move to replace the prime minister, that's a good step.
First weekend of airdrops and airstrikes. Duncan mentions the Yazidis. There's still some up there, but ISIS appears to be on the run at least a little bit. Can it be this easy?
No, these are mixed results, but what was discovered here over the last 24 hours were some mass graves in some of the positions that ISIS had taken. And there, the religious minorities, many of them burned alive, is evidence of the brutality of this particular al-Qaeda affiliate. And I think that will tend to rally a lot of the different Shia, Sunni, Kurdish populations to resist ISIS. The air support seems to help the Kurds, and now that we're giving military equipment to Kurdish forces in order to fight ISIS, that seems to be helping as well.
You're talking to a business channel, of course, and the market's concern is that this remains contained somehow from a policy perspective. Do you have any fear this will get out of hand, so to speak?
Well, the only unusual situation is that despite the incredible brutality of ISIS, it has drawn support from fighters across North Africa, East Africa, Yemen. So when we had the African summit last week and I talked to these African leaders, they were telling me that many of the foreign fighters that are leaving their country, and the same is true in Central Asia, are going to fight along with ISIS. So you do have a lot more foreign fighters going into that region because there is this new call for a caliphate. Baghdadi has announced that he is the leader now of this. So it will be interesting to see if, with a new government possibly now in Iraq, if they can offset the advances that ISIS has made over the last few months.
Congressman, I have a question on how this is playing out politically at home. Sunday talk shows obviously talking about it yesterday. The Democrats saying the president is doing enough. It's a tricky situation. The Republicans saying he could do a lot more. And most interestingly, I thought Hillary Clinton giving an interview separating herself further from President Obama when it comes to the Syria and Middle East policy. Does she have a more credible Middle East policy and strategy that you can rally around than the president?
Well, this is a critique that comes not just from Hillary Clinton, but if you'll recall, our embassy in Baghdad, as well as many in the Pentagon, had called for a more early intervention against ISIS. I had called for drone strikes against ISIS when they were in Syria, and then when they were moving on the road. Armed drones could have been used to take out those columns and give air support against the ISIS fighters. And it was the president himself who turned down those requests, both from the government in Baghdad and from our embassy and from us. So what you see now is a critique coming from Democrats, from Republicans, about why did this get out of hand like this? Why did they allow ISIS, to move against Mosul in this way and to take all of the money out of the central bank in Mosul? That's what's made ISIS so rich,
Mr. Chairman,
and powerful.
Mr. Chairman, I guess for many people the question is what the people of this country believe is in their interests. And the situation is, as I can never remember it, where you have an NBC poll that suggests that almost half of the people of this country want the United States to be less involved in global affairs. And that is a sea change, isn't it? And with that in mind, it explains what many people believe to be the super reluctance of the president to act, and to all the points that you've just made.
But Simon, if I could just point out, no one believes that we should have U.S. troops on the ground. Certainly, former Secretary of State Clinton didn't say that. I don't believe that, and neither do any of the political forces.
But she did say that they should be arming the Syrian rebels, and it was as a result of not arming them that ISIS is as strong as it is. So she wanted armaments from the United States pumped into Syria.
Well, the Free Syrian Forces, of course, this wasn't just a question of us arming them. Other allies, Jordanians, Turks, this was something the Saudis asked direction from us about, and there was no direction. At that time, there were no foreign fighters in Syria. There was the Free Syrian Army, and there was Assad that they were battling. The absence of support for the Free Syrian Army, our former Secretary of State is arguing, is what brought the foreign fighters in, created that opportunity, and never over that 3-year period, despite the fact that the Pentagon, the Secretary of State, and others asked the president to at least get engaged here and try to take action, he didn't take action, and this is the critique.
Mr. Chairman, appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chairman Ed Royce.